be carefree before God because he's most careful with you. And I think sometimes when we get ready to create, we forget that God did already do all this great stuff to give us the opportunity to create. And he's careful with that. So we can trust in him and saying like, yo, whatever it is I'm about to create, whether it be digitally, physically with my hands, or even creating a family or a relationship,
That's
like
good.
God is careful to give us what we need in order to do that. And that comes with trusting that he is who he say he is.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Being Me is Dope podcast, where we have therapeutic conversations to empower creative minds. I'm Nate.
I'm Keej.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Michael.
And today we will be discussing the ultimate creative and what that means to us. And we want to hear actually what that means from you as well. I want you to drop that in the comments. So let's go ahead and jump right into this. When you hear the ultimate creative, what are some, I would say, characteristics or things that stand out to you when you think of the ultimate creative? I know that was a loaded question.
Yeah.
That's loaded.
I'm like,
Loaded.
wait, the thing told me not to prepare. I feel like I need a little bit of a...
So I'm gonna go. All right, so I'm gonna go a little deep to start. I know this is
Do it.
this is
Dive
our
in.
faith-based episode. For me, when I think of the ultimate creative, I think of God. Just the beauty and how nothing is by mistake, but everything is by design. That he creates, and I believe that he created us to continue to create. You know what I mean? So for me, we were talking about traveling prior before we jumped on.
Yeah.
And I think about flying, and whenever I'm flying to the West Coast and I'm seeing mountains and just different things, how it almost speaks to my soul as a creative, and I don't understand why.
Wow.
I'm just like flying over the mountains, flying over the ocean. I'm just like, it's something about it that just calms my spirit, and then also at the same time inspires me more than any video or book could do.
Yeah, you're really reminded about how much is out there,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
and how much is attainable.
Yeah.
And sometimes we find ourselves in these very tight bubbles, thinking that you can't really branch out and touch other people or souls or environments, whatever that looks like for, certain individuals. So I, with you, the ultimate, creative is God. And I think that we find ourselves sometimes in a more dialed back space that for me to be that, you're finding, your life's purpose. And, some people have it very simplified and some people think that it's very complicated. And I think that to be the ultimate creative, it's really to find that purpose. What are you doing to serve in what that looks like for you, whether that's faith or, finances or family, whatever that looks like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think.
I think when I hear the ultimate creative, the first word that popped into my head, I'm always going to go with Holy Spirit, is like risk taker. Like, because let's be perfectly honest. God took a risk on us, okay?
I'm talking about the biggest risk.
He said, don't eat this. Took a risk.
Right.
Boom. Soon as he gone, this look good. And so I think we have to also be, like, I read Failing Forward at a very early point in my journey. And so I like to take risks. Trey, my husband, my wonderful husband, shout out to my husband.
Shout out to Trey.
Said,
Shout out to Trey.
as we were walking up, I'm like, how you doing? Like, how you feeling? We're working on checking in on each other. And he said, it's never a dull moment with you. And I'm always down for the risk. Like, I'm always down to take a risk because I know, like Ecclesiastes says, that we have to live in this happy medium, right? So we have to live in the midst of simplicity but complexity. We have to live in the midst of, okay, this is great, but it could also fail. We have to live in the midst of these things, and that's what taking a risk is about, living in the middle of these two tensions of, this could go really well, but it could also really suck if this doesn't do what I want it to do. And when you create, there's been plenty of projects that I've designed, and when I start, I'm like, this is good. I take a nap and I wake up and I'm like, this actually sucks. I should not have risked putting this stroke or this shadow on top of this color. And so as soon as you said that, that was like, oh yeah, you gotta take a risk.
Right. I love it. I love it, the dichotomy of that. Yeah. What about you, Mike? When you or Mike and Michael? What about you, Mike?
I'm kind of I agree with everything you guys have said. The first thing that obviously that comes to my mind was God when we talked about the ultimate creative. But then the next thing, now this is like crazy epiphany, right? You know how great God has to be at everything to give us everything that we have. You know how great, because you can't give someone something you don't have.
Facts.
So God had to be good or great at everything in order to give us these gifts. Yeah. That is crazy.
And I think sometimes we, a scripture that I've been holding on to is in the Message version of either 1st or 2nd Peter, but it says, be carefree before God because he's most careful with you. And I think sometimes when we get ready to create, we forget that God did already do all this great stuff to give us the opportunity to create. And he's careful with that. So we can trust in him and saying like, yo, whatever it is I'm about to create, whether it be digitally, physically with my hands, or even creating a family or a relationship, that's like good. God is careful to give us what we need in order to do that. And that comes with trusting that he is who he say he is.
Right, facts. So let me ask y'all this, as we talk about the ultimate creative, why do you all believe as creatives, so many of us doubt that ability to create when we have the ultimate teacher? You know what I mean? That's like really approving us, like, yo, you can do this. Why do we still doubt?
I think we fell into, society's image, and I'm really big on this, how social media really has changed the minds and the molding of our youth, and the experience that humans have in life today. I mean, when I grew up, we didn't have cell phones yet. We're like the bridge between the technology today and no technology at all. Listen. You know what I'm saying? So we understood both. So I feel like we're like that last generation of really getting life and still trying to like teach the youth that like, listen, there's real purpose out here, and you're getting lost in, this nothingness and stuff that really isn't worthy if you're not using it for the right reasons. You know what I mean? So I think people are really afraid, and even adults too, because they're getting sucked in as well. Because they don't want to let the human down. You know what I mean? You have to let go of that. You gotta trust the universe. You gotta trust God. You gotta trust energy, and know that you're walking a path, for all the right reasons. And again, that wraps back around to finding whatever your life's purpose is, man. It's like, I think that's what it is. People really fear disappointment and, family, friends, how they look on social media. That sits with me when you say that.
And it's crazy because I'm going to piggyback off what you said. I tweeted this the other day too. I said, the success is in your obedience to God and not how people react or respond to your obedience.
So, that's good. I was about to say something. I think we was talking about Tim Ross before, but he was saying, and to your point, he was bringing out some type of scenario where it was like, when was this person obedient? Was it when they said yes, or when they started to do the action, or when somebody approved of it? It's like, as soon as they said yes, they'll do it. That was it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the obedience. And then so many people, creatives, aren't willing to say yes because there's so many different factors. I don't know if this is going to work out. How is this going to happen? I don't have the resource. And it's like, I'm not asking you I gave you the idea and the concept. It's like, just take the step. And when you take the step, I'll release more things to you.
Yeah.
But that's really hard for a lot of people to conceptualize. They don't have that level of faith. But when we look at people who really have done the things we desire to do and have built something, massive, it all started with that, okay, here's the idea. I got to take these steps of faith. I might fall right here. I don't know what's going to happen. I might go broke over here. Some relationship might go sideways. I don't know what's going to happen. But at the end of the day, my obedience is going to release all of these other things for me to create what I believe God is telling me to create.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge step.
And I think that I'm gonna say two things here. Like, one, we have to. Well, I'm gonna always go back to the Bible, but like Hebrews says, we have a great cloud of witnesses, and it also talks about the fact that like Abraham, like, didn't get to see. God said, "Hey, I'm gonna give you a bunch of kids, as many as the stars in the sky, okay, or a bunch of descendants, shall I say, because they weren't directly his." But Abraham never actually got. All he got to see was Isaac.
Yeah.
He didn't get to see the stars. Yet, if Abraham had decided, wait, I'm not going to take this risk, I'm not going to be creative in using my imagination to believe what God has told me, then he would have never gotten to that place of being a part of the cloud of witnesses. Like, he didn't get to see it, but in his own physical, I guess, body, but he got to see it as a part of the cloud. And as creatives, when we decide that we're going to be obedient to God, there may be some things we will never see with our own eyes. We might not see them until we get to the cloud, but that's where it comes to like us putting our trust in God to say, you know what? I'm going to let him use my obedience, use me as a creative, even if, you know, because our generation, we love instant gratification, right?
Facts.
Like,
Oh my gosh,
hey, I
worse.
post, I want to see how many people gonna like it in 30 seconds, in this and that, whatever. And God is not he waited over 2,000 years to send Jesus. He didn't need instant gratification. He needed something that was going to genuinely work for us to be able to have unbroken fellowship with him so that we can be the ultimate creatives. And when we decide that we're going to take away that opportunity to give God our obedience just because we don't feel like we'll be instantly gratified, or just because we're like, you know what, I don't have the resources, I can't do this right now, I can't whatever, we take away an opportunity for God to really show how much of a creative he is through us. And it's like, who are we? He sent his only son to die for us. And because we scared, we're not going to exude what he created us to be so that we can glorify him in the earth.
Right.
I ain't got time for that, man. I'm
Right,
finna do
nah.
what God told me to do. I ain't playing.
All of that. No, I feel all of that. And it's the process that I feel like a lot of people are afraid of, because there's no guarantee. It's like, can you fall in love with the process of what you're doing? Like Enki Johnson always says, can you fall in love with the process without being emotionally attached to the results of it? Like, so can you be constantly focused and living in the process of what's going on? And just like you were saying, so much ties into that, to being like, yo, this is a process. There's no instant gratification. What if you don't get what it is that you want, right? What if you can't see the impact of it? It's like, will you not create it? Will you not allow your work, whatever that thing is, to impact somebody you may never meet? Because you want to reap the rewards right now. And like you said, right now we're in this instant gratification microwave age where it's like, yo, I need $1 right now, bro. Like, I'm about to put this out. This is a hit. This is a slap. Yeah. Come on, bro. I need it right now. And it's just like, yo, that's not how it works.
Yeah, I spent I fell into those traps. So in my early 20s, I was heavily doing music, performing, writing, recording, putting stuff out. And it all felt good. And then I felt like I was starting to chase something that was artificial. And I ended up, like, pretty much, I wouldn't say hanging up, writing and recording. But I didn't have the inspiration that I once had at a certain point, because I felt lost in whatever it was that I was chasing. Really not knowing, but I think it was everything that society was telling you to have. You know what I mean? Fame, the limelight, do the shows. I want more than 1,000 people. I want, all this stuff. I want attention. And you got to get videos out there. I got to get the girls in the videos. I got to have the nice cars. I don't have any of that. Why do I want to be that? You know what I mean? And in my time of, kind of like a retreat, I started a new business and was looking at life a lot differently. Because I started shooting videography for like weddings and different things like that, and just finding myself capturing moments for people. And then with that, I started to find my spark again. I started to be out more in nature, running consistently, and then just kind of sitting with my thoughts and figuring out why I'm here. What's my purpose? I know I have a talent and I have a gift. How can I serve it? And then I wrote my last album, and that ended up kind of really stirring this new perspective on life and creating, and being able to say what I do serves a more broader purpose. And it really doesn't have everything to do with me. I released that album with no promotion, with really no notice. Just put it out there, threw it out to the universe, right? Trust that God was going to deliver this to the people that needed to be touched. And sure enough, I was getting text messages and DM messages from people that never really followed my music or didn't share my stuff, saying, "Wow, I'm literally crying listening to this song or that song, or because this is touching home for where I am in my life, and I needed to hear these things and stuff like that." So I fell victim to those moments of, fear and wanting to, do something that impressed other people or not doing anything at all because I was afraid of the unknown. If I didn't get those things, if I didn't, if I didn't find that gratification that people thought was happiness because it was attention seeking or, materialistic. You know what I'm saying?
So let me say that, or let me ask this to y'all. Where does that definition of success come from for so many of us, right? Like you said, a lot of times it's the material things, it's the likes, it's the followers, it's the listens, it's the plays, it's the dollar amount. But a lot of times fulfillment isn't attached to that.
Yeah.
So how do we actually gain or gather that true success? Because for a lot of people, once they get in that dark pit and they realize, like, oh, this ain't it. Like, okay, I got all this stuff and I still feel empty. It's like, it's only but two ways you can go. You either go down dark or you go up and you looking at God, you know what I mean? And you really surrendering yourself to that. But I feel like a lot of people, their definition of success is what social media or society is telling them it is. And they feel like because they don't have the cheers, the applause, it's like, I'm not successful. And it's like, actually, nah, you've been successful. You don't, like, the moment you started to create, it's like, oh, okay, this is success. And I know for me as well as you, and I'm not sure about you two, but I know I also fell into a very similar trap with the industry that I'm in with speaking and books and things like that. I'm just like, man, this doesn't feel successful. But I remember the moment when I had that fulfillment hit me, and that's when I wrote my last book. I Love You, Letters of Love from Black Men to Black Boys. Because I was working with a lot of PWIs, doing mental health seminars and things like that. And I had went to Taraji P. Henson's conference where she talked about mental health. And I was like, man, I feel like I'm supposed to be doing something, but I'm not a therapist. I'm not a counselor, any of these things. And I really felt this urge from God, like, I need you to speak specifically to Black boys. I'm like, nah, I can't do that because I'm leaving people out. And he's like, you're not listening to me.
Right.
Like, you're not, I'm telling you exactly what to do, but I was obedient in that. Like, we talked about obedience. And I started to work on that process. I'm like, man, all right, what's the title of the book? And it's like, I Love You. I'm like, nah, that ain't it, God. We need a new title. We need a new title. That ain't the one. That ain't the one. And it's like, that's all, it was just in my mind every day, all night, just like, I love him. Like, all right, cool, whatever. I love you. I'll do it. I'll write these letters. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to write some letters of love to Black boys. I'm going to do like 50 to 100 by myself. And I got like 3 letters in, and it was just like, all right, that's all I got. And I really felt like God was telling me, like, oh, bring other men into this process. Bring other men in. So I started to reach out to men that I knew, stand-up guys, Black guys, professionals, followers of Christ that was really just doing some dope stuff. And they all agreed to be a part of this project.
Wow.
Fast forward, long story short, the book, we started to write it in 2019. 2020 happened, which we know was the pandemic, but not just the pandemic, but so much racial tension in this country. George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, so many other things. And I remember when the book releasing, during that time, I'm like, yo, this is crazy. Because I remember in 2019, I said, yes, I would do this, not knowing 2020 would happen.
Wow.
Not knowing the tension would be like that. Not knowing that Black men and boys would need that level of affirmation from other men. To say we here and we love you. And that book went on to do very well, went to prisons, went overseas, was a bestseller, all of this amazing stuff. But it goes to show you, like, look, there's a reason behind this. There's a process. I had no idea. I thought 2020 was the year of vision, you know what I mean? I thought it was up.
Right.
I thought it was lit. I'm like, oh, 2020, it's up. Like, we out here with clarity, cuz. Like, I was hyped. And I didn't know it would hit that hard, but something that I created back in 2019 by just saying yes to the creative process, when that wasn't the type of work I was doing at all. It was literally very specific to what I was doing. And he's like, look, I need you to scrap that, speak specifically to this audience. I'm like, yo, I'm going to lose my money. I'm going to lose this. I'm going to lose the school. He said, yo, you don't even know I got so many more opportunities for you if you just listen. And literally, like, Tennessee State University uses the book as part of their curriculum.
Wow.
The HBCU.
Wow.
Crazy. And it's just like, if you just listen, be obedient, it's going to impact people. And I've seen what that's done in that creative process by just listening. So for all of you, especially those of you that are watching, I'm going to encourage you to listen to that voice and create it anyway.
Yeah.
I know you're afraid. I know you're scared. I know you're worried. You don't think it's going to work out. For me, I was counting dollars and cents. I'm like, all right, how am I going to make money off it? This ain't making sense to me. God, like, he's like, yo, just create it.
Yeah.
Like, put your all into it.
Yeah.
Give 100% and create it, and I'm going to handle the rest. And it's been just amazing to see what that has done, and so many just other things in my life.
Yeah.
So for y'all, another question. I got a lot of questions. I should be a therapist. I got a lot of questions.
I was about to say, wait, I'm trying to hold on with all my might to the one question. Like, don't forget it, don't forget it, don't
Don't
forget
forget it. They come back around and say, "You ready?" She was like,
I missed it.
He has it again.
all right. As we think about the ultimate creative, I would say for each of you, what are you doing to make sure that you're that ultimate? Because again, there's no guarantees with any of this. We
Yeah.
are literally creating things out of like thin air out here.
Yeah.
It's ideas, it's
Yep.
concept, and then it's here.
Yeah.
You know, whether that's a physical product, whether that's video, content marketing, whether that's songs,
Yeah.
speech, whatever it is, it starts here, and it's like, yo, somebody in the world needs this,
Mm-hmm.
and now I got to get it out to them. So for you, what's that process look like? Like, how are you staying inspired and motivated to constantly create something that doesn't exist, that only you can bring?
Okay. So I want to partially answer that first question you asked because I just felt like that goes into your other one. So like, what is success? I just want to encourage like everybody that success can and should be whatever God is telling you to do. That obedience. Am I obedient? I'm successful.
Period.
And to understand that the kingdom of heaven is the exact opposite of this world. So when we as Christians try to put ourselves in the brackets of, okay, this is what success looks like in the world, it will often never look like what success would look like to God for us. I was studying the other day in a Bible study, and Paul in 1 Corinthians was trying to teach the Greek people in Corinth that their wisdom couldn't work with God. The Greek philosophers couldn't understand why they should serve a God who died for his people. Their conscience was like, this doesn't make any sense. If you're such a big God, why did you need to die? And so Paul was trying to get them to understand, like, what you think is right according to the philosophies of this world will not work in Christianity. So as people of faith and creatives, we have to understand that success may look like going off our career path, off of what we're exactly. Jesus was a carpenter.
Right.
He built houses, and God sent him to teach. Wait, I didn't send him to build houses. That was just what he did at that moment up until I shifted him. And now success doesn't look like building the best house. Success looks like being obedient and going to preach and to teach and to heal and to deliver. And so I think we just all have to get into this space because it'll look different at different seasons. It'll look different at different times. It'll look different everywhere we go. But if we base it off of the world's standards, we'll always feel unsuccessful when we're following and being obedient to God, because the world always wants more this, more that, more that, more. And Jesus said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. Follow me. Okay. He lost half of his congregation in doing one, and telling them to do one simple thing: eat my body, drink my blood. And they were so confounded because to them that didn't look like what a successful leader is supposed to be telling people to do. I'm not going to do that. So when we get these instructions from God as creatives and we decide to do them, we have to immediately make that decision in the midst of our obedience that I'm not going to allow what the world standard of this being successful to gauge whether I'm going to keep going or not. Because Jesus was losing followers left and right. Peter done told him, why you want to die? He done had to tell Peter, hey, get out. We're not doing this right now. So it's just like, if he had continued to allow himself to be led by what the world would have saw as successful, he would have never went to the cross. And we would have never been here.
And been trouble.
All day. And so I feel like that, knowing that, letting that be my gear and my driver. Repeat your second question again.
I don't know.
Okay.
It's like, no, I'm joking.
I was about to say.
I'm saying, like, what inspires you as a creative to continue to create things that aren't?
Yes, that is what inspires me. the Bible says that we should do everything as worship unto the Lord. When we get to eternity, when we get to heaven, that's how we're going to be able to do anyway. So you know what? My obedience, being as worship unto the Lord, I'm just going to go ahead and get a head start. That's what gets me to that place where I can continue to create. Had many failed projects, had a few failed businesses.
Right.
We all have. What allows me to have the faith? Faith is the evidence of things hoped for, the substance of things not seen.
But
so
are they failures?
Mm.
You know what I
I'm
mean?
about to run the lap.
You know what I'm saying?
Hit
Like,
one.
Moody's mics run the lap real quick. That's such a bar, though. That's such a bar.
like
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Hold on real quick, y'all. Hold on. So what's going to happen is this. For all of our supporters and listeners that are watching right now, if you want to catch the rest of this episode, I want you to make sure that you tap into our Patreon, become a supporter of what we're doing. If you believe in our mission and our work, tap in so you can watch the rest of this. But if not, we'll tap in with you on the next episode. Peace.